In this video, I have provided a student essay about a character in everyday use. You're all very familiar with Dee. One of my students, Mercedes Castaneda, wrote an essay entitled Phoenix, and I would like to share it with you. And I will point out all of the elements of a character analysis essay. So use this essay as a guide as you write your own. Some of you in the first essay did not know the correct heading. This is the correct heading. Also, don't give me a boring title. Give me a catchy title. And of course, she will explain what Phoenix means in the essay. I have highlighted the three most important sentences in your essay: the thesis statement and the three topic sentences. The thesis statement is highlighted in yellow, and the three topic sentences are highlighted in purple. Notice, she will argue that in that fire of her salvation, the old Dee burned away and a new Dee was reborn in the flames, much like a phoenix from her ashes. That is her thesis statement. And she could break this down into three parts, and each part will be a body paragraph. Take a look at the first topic sentence. Mrs. Johnson remembers how Dee responded to the fire as a young girl. Look at her thesis statement. In the fire of her salvation. Let's go down to the next topic sentence. After the fire, Dee continued her vitriolic malevolence towards her family and her community. In her thesis statement, she argued that the old Dee burned away. And the last body paragraph should be about Dee being reborn. Remember, your topic sentences have to relate back to your thesis statement. Her final topic sentence is, and become that person she did. That is, a new person reborn. So before you type your essay, please know that your thesis statement and your three topic sentences must be related. Okay, let's start from the beginning. In your introduction, you have to have the title, the author, the speaker, and also a little bit about the story and what happens. At the end of the introduction, you put your thesis statement. What are you going to argue about your character? You should be able to break your thesis down into three parts. And that is her introduction. Now she's going to go into her first topic. And her first topic is the fire of Dee's salvation. Now let's take a close look at this body paragraph, and we won't look at all three of them very closely, just this one. Topic: Mrs. Johnson remembers how Dee responded to the fire as a young girl. Her memories of Dee are always of a distant and difficult child. In the past, Mrs. Johnson exerted great energy to please Dee, but her efforts were never enough to satisfy her daughter. Now, these are example sentences. Before you jump into the story, explain what you mean with this sentence. Explain what you mean. Give me some ideas. Tell me about your argument. What is the argument that Mercedes Castaneda is going to be talking about when she's talking about Dee and the fire? Before you go into the story, before you put any quotes, give me some example sentences. After that, you can go into your details and your quotations. Let's continue. Mrs. Johnson says of Dee, quote, often I fought the temptation to shake her, alluding to the frustration felt on both sides of the relationship. In Dee's desire to be better, she expresses her wish for more possessions and better possessions, like a new suit for a school function. Taking her mother's green suit and then remaking it into something more suitable of her own style evinces both mother and daughter's very difficult frustrations with their similar situation. Mrs. Johnson is proud of what she has, due in large part to her hard work and dignity. She cannot understand why Dee tries so hard to be someone else, evident by the remaking of the clothes, when the person she is just fine. Dee, on the other hand, is embarrassed of the hand-me-downs, her family's literacy difficulties, their home, as well as of virtually everything the family has or is likened with. Notice what Mercedes Castaneda is doing. She is not just retelling the story. She is elaborating on what she thinks about Dee, about Mrs. Johnson, what she thinks about the story. When you just retell the story, that's called plot summary. The opposite of what Mercedes has done would be this. And Dee comes home to see her mom and her sister, and they have dinner, and they eat collard greens, and they eat sweet potatoes, and then Hakima Barber says he doesn't eat pork. See, that's just plot summary. I know what happened. What I want you to tell me is what you think. Notice what Mercedes thinks. She thinks that Mrs. Johnson is proud. She thinks that Dee is embarrassed. She thinks that Dee is impatient and disgusted. All of these thoughts are from the student's mind, her own ideas about the story. So if I wrote plot summary on your essay 1, it's because instead of analyzing the story, you just told me what happened in the story. So that's the difference. After you spend a great deal of time on your topic, then you can give me a concluding sentence at the end to summarize topic 1. So let's look at this paragraph one more time. You have a topic sentence, which is the first part of your thesis, your first idea. Then you have some example sentences to explain that topic. Then you have details and quotations to support your argument. And then you will analyze the character. Don't just tell me what he or she did, but tell me why he or she did it. Okay? Now it's time for your second topic sentence. In her thesis statement, she says that she was going to discuss how the fire burned the old Dee away. So we move down to the second body paragraph. We talked about the old Dee, and she's going to discuss how she burned her up in the fire. Notice, before she started quoting, she gave several examples here. This is from her thoughts, and then she started to quote. She analyzed. She didn't just retell the story. She gave me her ideas. And at the end, she included a concluding sentence. Now, the third part of her thesis statement is how she rises like a new person, like a phoenix from her ashes. If you don't know what that means, Google phoenix, and it will tell you what that myth is all about. That's a famous myth. Well, she compares Dee to a phoenix bird. And so Dee becomes an entirely new person. She is reborn like a phoenix. She broke her thesis down into 3 parts. Before she quotes, she gives some examples to explain what that means. Wanjero returned home as an arrogant, falsely self-assured woman, thinking that she has brought herself into a new enlightenment. In reality, she only burned the images and true memories of her past out of her mind, so that she could move on to something she felt was more worthy. That's how she explains how Dee was reborn. After that, she gives quotes and analysis to support her point. And at the end of that body paragraph, she will add a concluding sentence. Wanjero is attempting to forge the 2 identities together, with the memory of the fire that furtively set her on the path towards self-induced schizophrenia. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. Now, once you have supported your thesis with 3 body paragraphs, all you need now is your conclusion. Remember, your conclusion, the first thing you do is review your thesis statement, then review your topics, and then ultimately you're going to end with your clincher sentences. Now let's take a look at her clincher sentences. This is the fate she has been running from her entire life. She ran circles around her family and friends when she was a child. She ran unflinchingly through the flames of her burning home and emerged on the other side like a phoenix. She became a mythical creature, an invention of her own imagination, in part based in reality, and the rest just made up as she went along. Ooh, Mercedes wrote a very good clincher. Okay, you are all capable of doing this and more. The key to making a good grade on this essay is giving me what I want. Please include all of these elements. You all have wonderful ideas. You all have brilliant ideas. But in real life, you have to meet the objective. And the objective this time is a character analysis. So write it, but write it right. You all can do this. Remember, if you need any help with your draft, send me a couple paragraphs at a time and I will send you feedback and we can work on it step by step together. I don't recommend that you try to write the whole thing and turn it in without letting me look at it first. I'll be more than happy to look at as many drafts as you want me to look at, because when you turn it in, that counts. You have no chance for revision this time. Okay, so I hope this helps. Let me know if you need additional assistance. Have a good weekend.